Hello everyone, I'm Marsha with Old School New Kitchen, and today we're going to be making Old School Chicken and Dumpling. Alright, so to get started, we'll go over our ingredients that we'll need today. Going to have just the smallest container you can probably find unless you're feeding a lot of people. This is 16 ounce Lucerne buttermilk, salted butter, you'll only need half a stick, a full pint of chicken broth. I like Pillsbury, but any all-purpose flour will do. Baking powder, clabber girl, a salt and pepper blend that I've already pre-mixed here, McCormick black pepper, some core polo, which is a little bit of bouillon just to give a little bit more flavor because your broth is tendency to be a little thin, and some plain salt. And our main ingredient here, which is going to be our chicken. This is pre-cleaned, pre-skinned, and deboned. About 4 pounds of chicken breast for about 10 to 15 people. Alright, the first step we're going to do is add your chicken to your saucepan. I'm using a 12-quart roaster pan from Salad Master, and you want to have it to medium to high heat. There's also an option if you're in a hurry, you can boil this chicken as well. So we're going to go ahead and turn this on and set this aside while we get ready to start our dumpling. Alright, so let's get started with rolling out our dumplings. So some key instruments you're going to need. You're going to need a rolling pin, something the heavier the better. What I've used to wrap and keep my counter secure, you have your Reynolds kitchen wrap. Here you're going to need a pastry blender and a nice bowl. Any kind of bowl will do. I prefer to stainless steel for easy cleanup. And of course a couple of extra measuring cups just to have on hand. Now, so let's get started. Gonna need 2 cups all-purpose flour. 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of your baking powder of choice. Again, I prefer clabber girl because it's pre-sifted. And you're going to cut in half a stick of butter. Your butter needs to be cold to room temperature, not melted. And I normally do is just start with small squares and fold it in with my pastry cutter. And you're going to fold in your butter into your flour. This is a little bit of a painstaking process, but the cold butter is actually what puts the air bubbles in and makes your biscuits, if you're doing biscuit, in this case we're doing dumplings, it makes them fluffy and they don't stick together and become pasty. Once most of your butter is dissolved, you're going to start to slowly introduce your buttermilk. Usually takes about a 1/3 cup, but you're really looking for that consistency of a smooth ball in the end. Alright, so we're going to add a little bit of buttermilk, probably close to a 1/4 cup to start. And we're just going to fold this in a little at a time until we get that ball of dough into one mass, and that happens fairly quickly, as you can see here. If you wanted to double up and make biscuits at this point, you could add more butter, add more flour to get one big firm ball. You want to get it to almost a Play-Doh consistency and continue to add your milk until it forms one ball. Alright, so rolling this out side to side, counterclockwise usually works best. Now, I like using a pizza roller just for speed, but you can use any kind of knife or pastry cutter that you prefer. Now, you have several ways you can do this. You can pinch this off and make them into little round balls, hand rolled, if you want to do round dumplings. I prefer to mimic the Cracker Barrel way. This is just doing it in strips. And you generally have a lot less waste, about 1 inch thick. Alright, now that's done. I like to keep a clean surface, so we'll just remove these tools here. And take any of your excess flour, just kind of pat it over the top to keep these dry. Alright, so here in my roaster pot, we have all of our chicken breasts and thighs here cooked down. I'm just kind of aiding the process by pre-chopping some of this meat down as it cooks through. And you are going, if you're using white meat, you're going to cook this until it's literally to the consistency of pulled chicken. It'll fall apart so you know that it's ready. Once it gets to that point, we're going to start adding our final ingredients, which we'll do shortly. Alright, now that our chicken is cooked thoroughly, it's time to add our final ingredients. So we'll give that one more quick stir. Make sure nothing's sticking anywhere. And again, I'm using all steel in here. Just make sure you're using utensils that are appropriate for whatever kind of cookware you're using. I like the spatula because I can cut it and mix it up at the same time. So here we're going to add our salt and pepper mix. The remainder of our broth. We're going to leave this on medium to high because it's going to return to a boil a second time so that we can add our dumplings in slowly. And then more broth and more water. I normally like to take probably the equivalent of about 2 teaspoons worth of our bouillon mix here. I would not recommend cubed at this point because it won't have a chance to dissolve fully into this mix. Alright, now that we've added the remainder of our broth and a little bit of water, it's a good time to add in a little more bouillon just for flavor so that you don't water it down without having to add salt. So here the brand I like is Monarch. It's for our bouillon flavor mix. And we're going to let this return to a boil for a second time with the added liquids. Alright, so now we've got our chicken and our broth to a full boil. We're going to start adding in our dumplings. And again, you want to make sure they're floured pretty evenly on both sides. And you're simply going to drop them in one at a time. And if you watch, they'll start to float to the surface when they finish. To prevent anything from sticking, every now and then you just want to give it a little stir. So I'm going to add about 10 pieces and then go back in and stir this a little.